Well, hi, my name is Daniel, and I'm out here in the sparse light of a winter's morning, out here in a wood by an urban creek, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about how God speaks, specifically how God speaks to me, just what I've learned, um, and I'm out here because this is just outside is where my spiritual antennae are most alert and attuned to His voice. You know, I I was taught from a very early age that that God speaks, that we can hear His voice, and I was taught how to do it, and I'm so grateful for that heritage from my parents. Um, uh, so I've never doubted that God speaks. I've never doubted it at all. Um, what has surprised me over the years is the ways in which I've realized, oh my goodness, that that was God's voice. That was the Lord speaking to me. What I've always heard, that's the Lord speaking to me. For me, the Lord speaks to me so clearly through nature and in nature. Um, I've and there's precedent for this too. I've always been just the phrase that the Lord used in Genesis 15. It said the Lord took Abraham outside and said, "Look up at the stars and see if you can count the stars." But just that phrase, the Lord took Abraham outside. That has been like, what does that mean? He took him outside. Does that mean he like lifted him up? Does that just mean he compelled him? Like, what does that phrase mean? The Lord took him outside. But that's kind of been a really important phrase for me in my life, because when I've needed to hear the Lord most clearly, I've gone outside. Um, whether it's oceanside, whether it's in the woods. My favorite place in the world is the woods. Um, the Lord spoke to me that I'm supposed to marry this girl, this wonderful girl named Kim, um, outside in the woods. Countless things, countless uh, episodes of the Lord speaking about direction. It's happened outside, looking up at the stars, having a bundled up in the winter and having a staring contest with Orion. Um, that's when the Lord speaks to me most clearly. Um, I've there was one time a couple years ago in a Christmas message at church, and there was a little video. It was the words. It was just music, and there were some words that came up, but it was scenes of the nativity, talking about the incarnation, God coming down. It was all really good, but there was one 2-second clip in there. It was a clip of of in the woods in winter, looking up as a time lapse video of the stars and the northern lights. 2-second clip, and that made my spirit like that is what caught my heart more than anything else in that video. And I went home and I felt really guilty about it. I felt like, for like 24 hours, I was thinking, have I just gotten stale? Has the incarnation, the message of the incarnation, has that become so commonplace to me that I don't even think about it, and the only thing that I care about is a video, a 2-second clip about videos with, like about a star, a time lapse video with stars, and I started to feel really guilty about it, like what's wrong with me? And the Lord just spoke so calmly to me. He's like, listen, Daniel, why did that 2-second clip catch your heart? And I was like, well, that's because I love it. I love being outside. And he's like, and why do you love being outside? He's like, I said, well, that's because I hear your voice outside. And he said, and so what was me coming to earth to be born as a baby, the incarnation, what's that all about? It's like, it's it's about bringing us back into communion. He's like, yeah, it's all about communion. And the Lord is just like, you're good. It's okay. Like, that's the way that I speak to you. That's good. It's good. I speak to you through nature, and that's I love that, and I love the fact that the Lord he loves to speak to us through whatever brings our hearts, what makes our hearts come alive. I know, can he speak to me just as easily in a crowded subway? Yeah, and he has. It's just that my ears are more attuned in certain places than others. I've talked to people that they're very relational, and they say that they hear the Lord's voice most clearly when they're talking with people. Like, they'll say something, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that was God's voice," and that I have had some similar experiences to that, but that's not where the Lord speaks to me. That's not where my ears perk up the most strongly. And so I just want to encourage you, if you are at all, if you all feel like the Lord, I have a really hard time hearing the Lord's voice. I want to encourage you first that the Lord is speaking to you, whether you think you hear him or not. And I just want to encourage you, it's not some, okay, now it is time for me to sit and talk to the Lord. Like, it is an everyday thing. It's an everyday along the path deal. In fact, I'm in my work clothes right now because I'm gonna go to work right after this. It's an everyday thing. It's not something you have to block out all this time for. And whatever you love doing, whatever makes you feel most alive, that is when your spirit is going to be most attuned and ready to hear his voice. So if you love cooking, that is the time to talk to the Lord. When you're in the kitchen and you're doing what you love, that's the time that ask questions then. Keep your ears open then. Whatever you love doing, whatever makes your heart come alive, keep your ears open then. That's just a little bit of my journey. I'm still journeying, and I just want to encourage you. He is always speaking, and he's always and you are ready now to hear his voice in a deeper way than you ever have been. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.